No, you're not being fair by saying that. You're trying to lead with Democrats and hoping that you won't be corrected. There's a reason she didn't say Jeffrey Epstein because until she was pushed, because Jeffrey Epstein has way bigger of a tie to Donald Trump than she does any Democrats. But she's trying to make a point about the Democrats. She's not trying to make a point about Donald Trump. Oh, I wanted to react to this. Okay, so
because like,
okay, this is content. Okay, so there's this Destiny debate. We're gonna do more Destiny content. Sadly. Okay, so Destiny did this debate with some lady who's like one of these like centrist-esque people who I've had debates with these types of people too, who like give so much charitability to the right and absolutely none to the left, and like claim to be independents but also, you know, don't really have like independent thoughts. They just think that because they fall in the middle on some issues that makes them an independent. And Destiny had it was like I don't remember her name. Let me check.
He called Trump and
let me check. I think it's like Sargon MGTMIR, I think they called her. That was like terrible fucking spelling of that. Batya Ugar Sargon. Sure. And this dude reacted to it, and you know, so many people are just reacting to Destiny content right now because he has clicks. I understand. I get the grind. And I understand it. But I watched a little bit of this video and I thought it was a little silly, and some of the arguments that he was making was a little silly. So we're gonna watch this on stream, and then if this guy, Mr. Wise Guy Thinks, if he wants to come on and talk about any of this, we can. I might give a little reach out, but we're gonna watch the video first. And by the way, like I more or less, like in this discussion, I more or less agree with Destiny. So
an illegitimate president who would not have won without irregularities.
He wouldn't have won without irregularities. That's absolutely true, right? Without intervention, without the DNC leaks in the hat. Wait, what part of that is not true?
Oh, I just think that that's election, and I don't engage in that.
Hold on.
True.
What would it take for you to convince you that Donald Trump knew that the election?
What would it take to convince you that he didn't?
What would it take to convince me that I already said? Like, if he was filing legitimate court cases with some kind of evidence and strong like claims, if he hadn't engaged in behavior a year beforehand, saying that it was going to be before it even happened, if he hadn't denied.
Wait, hold up. So a year in advance.
okay, I don't want to watch us starting.
Trump can see into the future, and that's why he
does it chill.
Not have won without
Okay, yeah,
irregularities.
that's true.
Do you acknowledge that Marjorie Taylor Greene was a Q in honor?
She has said that she used to.
right there.
Get to the. Okay.
Like, what could Trump possibly have done in your mind?
I mean, I look at him like he thinks he won and he thinks it was stolen from him, just like Hillary Clinton thinks she won in 2016 and thinks it was
Wait, she
stolen
didn't,
from
but
her.
Hillary never said that. Hillary never engaged in any criminal conspiracy.
Well, she did.
She never said she thought she won.
I agree with you that she behaved better.
No, it's not behave better. She didn't categorically. It's not the
She
same.
called Trump an illegitimate president who would not have won without irregularities.
He wouldn't have won without irregularities. That's absolutely true, right? Without
Okay, so I thought there would be some elaboration, but apparently there wasn't. So when we say that Donald Trump challenged the results of the election, we're not talking about him just saying that he won. We're talking about him filing fraudulent lawsuits. We're talking about him causing the fraudulent electors to be submitted on January 6th. And we're talking about him repeatedly spreading knowingly false specific claims of election fraud. When we have Hillary Clinton saying that, saying that the election was rigged, she just says that like Donald Trump is an illegitimate president and is pointing to actual tangible things that did cost her the election that were outside of her control. Now I still don't agree with that kind of rhetoric. I think sowing distrust in our elections is bad, but to act like what Hillary Clinton was doing and what Donald Trump was doing, even on the same grounds, like to act like they're even remotely on the same grounds is not true, and then to act like the claims of fraud themselves are on the same grounds are also not true, because Donald Trump was lying and Hillary Clinton, like most of the substance of that was accurate. It's just bad rhetoric.
Intervention without the DNC leaks in the hat. Wait, what part of that is not true?
Oh, I just think that election didn't fail and I don't engage in that.
Hold on.
True. Bro, the reason why this is so hypocritical. Oh my god. It's just rich coming from this guy. It's kind of hypocritical because
And this is the problem, is that the problem isn't necessarily election denialism. I think that's generally bad, especially when the interference in the 2016 election, I don't think was like big enough to get it overturned. But the problem isn't necessarily election denialism. The problem is false election denialism. So what Hillary Clinton was saying, in that if these emails from the DNC didn't leak, and if Donald Trump's campaign wasn't coordinating their leaking, I wouldn't have lost the 2016 election. That is maybe true. Like there is something to be said about that. And it's email leaks. It's nothing that Hillary Clinton did. It's just email leaks that were leaked by Russian hackers. So there is a claim there. I don't think it's justifiable to say Donald Trump is an illegitimate president, per se, but there is something to be argued about there. With Donald Trump, when he engages in election denialism, it's based off of conspiracy, it's based off of things that have been already proven wrong to him by multiple people within their respective state governments, and it's claims that his aides have admitted to lying about. So look at Rudy Giuliani, look at Kenneth Chesborough, look at Jenna Ellis. The difference is election denialism isn't necessarily bad if the election was stolen. The difference is that Donald Trump's election can't even be construed to be as stolen unless you're referencing the ways that Donald Trump tried to steal the election. Hillary Clinton, the 2016 election was objectively influenced by Russia. Whether or not that means it was stolen, I don't think that means it was stolen. But there was Russian interference. That is just an objectively true thing. We have indictments, we have guilty pleas, we have concrete evidence that that is the case.
because like he'll debate and destroy people on the and call them like delusional for believing the 2020 thing. But when people question the 2016 one, well, it's a different story. Well,
It is because the 2016 election and the 2020 election are a different set of facts. You can, like, very simply, you can agree with one set of facts and think that somebody else agreeing with another set of facts is insane. It's like saying, oh, well, you know, I shot a guy on 5th because he looked at me weird, but for some reason you're defending somebody shooting a guy who is, you know, breaking into the house and like threatening to kill your kids. It's like, okay, but these two, it's not as simple as agreeing with shooting a guy. There's like way more important contextual details that would dictate whether or not we agree or disagree with it. So Donald Trump's claims were based on nothing, and a lot of the people who are perpetuating them admitted to lying, and Hillary Clinton's claims do actually have a factual foundation.
It actually, you know, Hillary might have had a point. Like, come on now. Like, where was this, like, good faith response or charitable response for the people of 2020? But then you're going to say, like, 2016, maybe there's some validity there? I'm like, okay, all right, Destiny.
Wait, I'm sorry, wait. Do you think that the leaking of the hacked material from the DNC had absolutely zero impact on the election? It was a very close election.
No one ever said that. You're debating nobody.
Yeah, I think people felt really strongly that they wanted Donald Trump to be president. Yeah.
Wait, so you don't, but you think that the Hunter Biden laptop story...
Here's the difference. No, I don't think that changed the outcome of the election. Here's the difference.
Bro, like he's so like Twitter brain rotted for what he thinks people think. Like she hasn't said anything about this. He keeps assuming that she believes these things. And then
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that earlier in this discussion, he didn't include this clip. I'm pretty sure she does make a point about the Hunter Biden laptop thing being an important part of the 2020 election, doesn't she? Which is like almost directly comparable. Okay.
And she says, no, I don't believe that. And then she's like, no, I don't believe that. Like, why do you keep assuming things? Come on, Destiny.
Well, also, to be clear, Destiny's not assuming things here. He's asking her direct questions. So I'm not assuming things to say, hey, do you believe that that Hunter Biden's laptop was important to the 2020 election? That's not me assuming that she does. That's me asking if she does.
Come on, Destiny. Why do you keep assuming these I'm trying so hard not to swear. Yeah, literally, this guy. Come on now.
between us. Like, you're very smart, and so you think most people are much dumber than you, which is probably true. And I am not very smart, and so I think I'm like everybody else. And so it doesn't occur to me that somebody would be fooled by a social media post that I would never be fooled by. Like, I just can't imagine that.
You're aware that like a quarter of conservatives, a quarter of Republicans believe that there's a high-level satanic pedophile sex cult in the Democratic Party. A quarter of conservatives believe that. You know that like Marjorie Taylor Greene is a QAnon.
Bro, this guy lives in like, this guy is in another planet. Like, what? A quarter of them? Bro, what?
She believed in the Hawaiian Jewish space lasers. Like,
I mean,
wait, do you acknowledge either of those things are true? That a quarter
I
of conservatives.
admire Marjorie Taylor Greene a lot.
What is this guy even talking about?
Do you acknowledge that Marjorie Taylor Greene was a QAnoner?
She has said that she used to believe some very sketchy things and no longer believes them. Yeah, I think that's true.
So she used to be a QAnoner, right? That believed in satanic sex cults.
Here's the thing.
You won't even acknowledge this. This is the issue, right? So there's no second order conversation. We don't live in the same factual world.
What do you mean? She acknowledged it like 3 different times each.
No. Okay. This is rhetoric being effective, is what this is. So whenever you ask a very direct question, hey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she believes in QAnon, right? And the response is, yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, may have believed in some sketchy things. That's not an answer. No matter if it sounds like an answer, it kind of does, but it's not an answer. There's a reason that she's refusing to say, yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene was a QAnoner. Because that undercuts a lot of the other claims that she's going to go on and make. If we acknowledge that she was a QAnoner and QAnoners believe in a pedophile satanic sex cult within the DNC, it makes her seem a lot more crazy than just saying, "Oh yeah, she used to believe some wild stuff." You're dumbing it down to make the rest of it look more palatable. That's the point of this kind of rhetoric, and it's working.
Like, just because she doesn't say yes and move on, that's the only like she said, she responded to you like 3 times.
You need a direct answer. You can't. The problem is that she's skirting around giving a direct answer.
Marjorie Taylor Greene was a QAnoner.
She has said that she used to believe some very sketchy things and no longer believes them. Yeah.
Look at that. Acknowledged right there, bro.
No,
acknowledged.
That is not acknowledged. Saying, yeah, she may have believed some sketchy things in her past, but that was like 12 years. Like, that's not acknowledging that she used to be a QAnoner. That's not. You need to have, if we're going to have a very honest conversation about the state of politics or whatever, we need to have a very honest engagement. And a very honest engagement isn't dumbing down what Marjorie Taylor Greene used to believe in. It's saying, yes, she was a QAnoner, and QAnoners believe this.
Right there.
That's true.
So she used to be a QAnoner, right?
Asked the same question again as if she didn't answer the question.
She didn't.
What?
Believed in satanic sex cults.
Here's the thing.
You won't even acknowledge this. This is the issue, right? So there's no second order conversation.
What do you mean? Okay, all right. Like, this guy, he's delusional. He's actually delusional. Like, just because she doesn't respond in the way that he wants her to respond, like, she's just dodging the question apparently. Like, what?
We don't live in the same factual world. This is the whole issue that I'm having.
Okay, so I hope you're not feeling gaslighted. Please tell me if I'm not trying to not answer your question. I'm just trying to suggest like a different gloss on it, which is.
And she's being such good faith. Like, come on now. Why are you acting so like retarded?
No, she's not being good faith. She's not directly answering any of his questions. That's the opposite of good faith. Having an honest conversation should be more or less aside from rhetoric, and she's trying to get rhetorical wins while Destiny's trying to get to the heart of the conversation that he wants to have.
Like, honestly.
Yeah, QAnon is insane, right? There's people who believe that, right?
Like Marjorie Taylor Greene did, and probably still does.
Didn't, no longer does. Says she no longer does.
True.
It turns out that there was an actual pedophile who was photographed and had very close relationships with a lot of people very high up in the Democratic Party, right?
Who? Epstein?
Yes.
Notice, why is the other side so silent on Donald Trump's appearance in pictures with Epstein?
And Donald Trump was in pictures with him. I'm not saying that this is a justification.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is the problem. Well, no. This is... He says, yeah, like she was willing to agree with that. But notice how she was willing to say, well, wasn't there a really high-profile pedophile who was meeting with tons of Democratic politicians? And then he's like... He asked her a question, and then she's like, and Republicans too. No, you're not being fair by saying that. You're trying to lead with Democrats and hoping that you won't be corrected. There's a reason she didn't say Jeffrey Epstein, because until she was pushed, because Jeffrey Epstein has way bigger of a tie to Donald Trump than she does any Democrats. But she's trying to make a point about the Democrats. She's not trying to make a point about Donald Trump. So she's being very, she's like hiding in a way. She's hiding what she's actually trying to say behind more rhetorically effective or more, vague posturing at things. So she can say, oh yeah, I was right. But she leaves out a lot of really important details.
Oh my god! And she literally just acknowledges it right there. There we go.
After
Perfect.
being pushed.
Well, is that not good enough for him? I guess.
After being
QAnon,
pushed.
I think also probably anti-Semitic in some ways, but what I am saying is that like a lot of the time, like they are onto something and they go too far. But what we've done in like especially in elite leftist discourse is epic levels of gaslighting to make people feel insane for pointing out things that are real. And you know,
Wait.
It's funny because this lady is actually like a girl that's on the left. Like she's not conservative whatsoever. But the only thing that Destiny thinks is what makes someone a conservative is if they're gonna vote Trump. And since she's like on the fence of like voting Trump, Destiny's like, yeah, you're basically a conservative. You're basically a conservative. You are.
Yes, because there's no liberal that would, in good conscience, vote for Donald Trump. There's barely even a normal Republican that would, in good conscience, vote for Donald Trump. The problem is that we've kind of sane-washed Donald Trump, even though he's like a dictator, fascist, insane motherfucker. So we're like, oh, listen, it's just the left and right divide. Just because she doesn't like agree down the line with Destiny, he's mad at her for some reason. He's not mad at her for not agreeing 100% with every position he's ever had. He's mad at her because she's not honestly engaging. She's trying to paint the both sides as if they're the same when they're not the same. Donald Trump is not the same as Hillary Clinton. The left is not the same as the right. The right now is coming up with conspiracies about sex cults within the DNC, is running a fascist who tried to overturn the last election, who lied about multiple claims of election fraud. And the left actually can point to concrete evidence of Russia interfering with the 2016 election, and points to Donald Trump's actual concrete ties to Jeffrey Epstein. So we are not the same, and to act like we are the same is like sane washing.
Have to be Republican. Like, true. I'm like, bro. She literally talks about herself like in the we, in the sense of we. Like, we're together. We're on the same side. Come on, man. Like he's acting as if she's like on another planet. Like she is. She doesn't exist in his worldview. And I'm like, the standards that well,
that's what the whole
has,
conversation
like,
is about.
There's a reason why no one, even people on the left, like don't like him. Like there's a reason why he's backed into a corner and kind of by himself with his little orders that chat with him sometimes. But there's a reason why he's not like in the mainstream media.
Wait, no, we're not.
Doesn't he go on Piers Morgan like all the time? Like, the mainstream media doesn't have any legitimacy anymore. But when we're talking about alternative media personalities on the left, Destiny's like top 3, probably like Cenk Uygur, Destiny, David Pakman, probably top 3.
For way divorced my right now. What would it take for you to convince you that Donald Trump knew that he lost the election?
What would it take to convince you that he didn't?
What would it take to convince me that?
See, that is not an honest answer to the question. What would it take to convince you that Donald Trump lost the election? Because she knows that if she gives a specific thing, Destiny will probably be able to meet that line. So she answers his question with a question. That's not a really honest engagement with the question.
That I already said. Like, if he was filing legitimate court cases with some kind of evidence and strong claims.
Legitimate court cases. What's your definition of what a legitimate court case is? Like you're literally asking, oh, what would it take? A subjective take on what I think is a legitimate court.
It's kind of, but we could probably say that a legitimate court case doesn't get thrown out on standing 62 separate times. Like, if Donald Trump was filing legitimate court cases, there's a reason that all of them got dismissed on standing, is because people from Georgia were filing election lawsuits against people in Pennsylvania about how they're counting their ballots. Like, that's not a good lawsuit. And I feel like any lawyer would probably say that that's not a good lawsuit. They were just filing dishonest, and John Eastman even concurs with this in an email that he sent to one of the people. The problem isn't actually trying to get the election overturned. It's just trying to say that there are pending legal challenges to legitimize the false electors stuff.
Case. And I'm like, how am I ever supposed to prove something that is be legitimate to you? Like, he's basically giving an answer that is impossible, because like what she thinks is a legitimate court case is completely different to what he thinks is a legitimate
well then the point would be then to show a court case that Donald Trump tried to pursue that was legitimate to challenge the election. But I mean, obviously that's never going to happen because there wasn't really any legitimate court cases other than the only one that got upheld, that had basically no bearing on the overall count anyway.
Court case. His standards are just it's goalposty. It's garbage. Like when you think you have a good point on him, he's gonna well, actually, subjectively, I don't really feel that way, so I'm gonna use a word that's like that could be used very loosely.
And this guy's not gonna have that conversation either. She's not gonna have this conversation. Name a lawsuit that Donald Trump engaged in that you think was a strong lawsuit that actually had a chance of contesting the results in the state that he filed it. You're not going to be able to. Or like, I would say that this is probably a bad line to say like, oh, if he was filing meaningful lawsuits, I guess that's fine. At this point, I don't like if he was, I don't, the problem is that I don't think there is a way that Donald Trump could have walked away thinking that the 2020 election was rigged, mainly because he commissioned himself multiple hand recounts, and they all came back with goose eggs, and the DHS said that he lost and the DOJ said that he lost. So like with all of the facts the same, there's no way that Donald Trump could have walked away thinking that he lost the election without being delusional. So I don't agree with this answer that Destiny gave per se, but I also think that it's a completely unanswerable question.
And say that you're wrong because it doesn't fit in this general loose word that I just came up with. You just gave me a subjective response as if I'm supposed to know how you're supposed to feel.
I'm glad you watch him. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Trump knew that he lost the election. If he hadn't engaged in behavior a year beforehand, saying that it was rigged, that it was going to be rigged before it even happened, if he hadn't denied that.
So what? Like, wait, you're saying this is evidence against him believing that it was rigged in the first place? Wait, hold up. So a year in advance, Trump already knew that he was going to lose the election, and therefore that's why he started talking about how it's going to
No. Wait, hold on.
be rigged a year in advance. So Trump can see into the future, and that's why he decided to do that, and that's why you think he's lying.
What are you talking? Okay. We know this because Donald Trump already did it this election as well. Donald Trump, on election night in 2024, said that already planted the seeds of doubt in regards to rigging. He was saying that Philadelphia's election was rigged, but then when he won election, it all went away. The reason that we know that he was lying about 2020 is because before 2020, he was already saying that the only way that they could lose is if it was rigged. There's no one that could honestly make that claim. I don't understand, like, how the mental gymnastics that has to be done to make this justified is insane.
That is such a stretch. That is such a stretch.
It's not a
if
stretch
anything,
at all.
him talking about that in the past, like a year in the past, is just even more credible evidence to like he thinks that it's going to be stolen.
No, because him claiming that the election was rigged with absolutely not even theoretical evidence, because the election hasn't even happened yet, is total evidence that before the election, there's no tangible evidence that the election is going to be rigged that could even possibly be the case. So how can you say he honestly thought it was rigged if there's couldn't possibly be evidence of the rigged election?
And so therefore, like he believed that. If he just randomly all of a sudden just started saying it after the election, then maybe we'd be like, okay, yeah, he's just being a sore loser. He's kind of lying there.
Because he also did the same thing in 2016. He was claiming that 2016 would be rigged before 2016, and then when he won, all of those claims just went away. So the reason that we know that he's lying is because he's lied about every single election that he's ever been a part of, and then if he wins that election, those claims just disappear, and if he doesn't, then he leads an insurrection. But this was a bad video. I'm gonna see if he wants to if he would come on. Let me see if I can contact him somehow.